Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk and ELT. It's just me today, and we're going to talk about error correction. Error correction done right. I don't know. I don't know if I can actually do it right, but I'm going to tell you how I do it. So we'll have to change the title of that. It's not error correction done right, but error correction by Kelly. There we go. So here's the claim that some people claim, like, you have to correct, immediate correction. Oh wait, it helps. They have to learn from their errors, and okay, so they get real passionate about it, and everybody's like real into how they do like their error correction. Again, contentious subject on when to do it and why to do it. So there are some beliefs which I think are important to understand, where you're coming from in terms of errors, student errors, and how they impact a student's learning process. I have had many teachers in the past few decades come to me and say, Kelly, I say, yes. Kelly, this student makes the same error all the time, and I correct him, and they know it's wrong, and I've said it, and I've done all the different techniques, and nothing, just nothing. Like, all right, maybe that one is just fossilized into oblivion. And clearly, it bothers you. But then my question would be, because errors definitely affect accuracy of the language, but is it affecting intelligibility? Hold on before anybody burns me about this. Is it affecting intelligibility at the proficiency level that the person needs to perform at for their personal goals? And I know that some teachers are going to want to burn me like a witch at the stake. I know, that's fine. Here's the thing. Not all students want to become grammarians, and not all students are going to become English teachers, and not all students are super interested in being C2 proficient in the language. I will give you my perspective. I live in Brazil. I've been living here for 2 decades now, but a little over a decade and a half. We're going on almost my second full decade here. I can speak Portuguese. I'm going to say like at a B1 plus level, depending on the topic. If it's gossip, I'm really good at gossip. If it's like formal, like having to, no, trash, total trash. Throw me down at an A2. The funny thing is, my husband got mad at me recently. Not mad at me, but he was like, sometimes he hears me saying things in Portuguese and he's like, like it hurts him. And then I'm like, do you now see how it is to be a teacher and just like hear things that are wrong? It's fun. It's fine. Don't worry. We don't fight about it. Anyway, so he heard me say something and he was like, that's wrong. You really need to fix that. I was like, what did I say? And I don't even know. I don't remember the example. This was like a month and a half ago or so. I was like, what did I say? And then he corrected me. I was like, okay. I was like, I said that? And he was like, yeah, you did. I was like, I know, but I know that. Okay. So then he was like, you need to start doing your exercise. It's mostly, I have to be honest, with Portuguese, it's my trouble areas, verb conjugation and masculine and feminine. Those are like the 2 things I mess up all the time. All the time. All the time. Because Portuguese is #hard. Anyways, I don't really care though, because at the end of the day, I'm an English teacher. I live here in Brazil. I can certainly survive. Anything that I need to do independently, I can do independently. I can go deal with the accountants for my company. I can go to the hospital by myself, and I've had to get procedures and all sorts of other things done. I can do it all. I can go to the grocery store, I can go to the nail salon and totally talk trash about Fulana who did the nail technician wrong and she's gossiping. Like, I can do all the things that I need to do at like a B1 plus, sometimes if it's trash talking, like a B2 level. Here's the thing though, I don't really need anything more than that. I'm never going to work in corporate Brazil. I'm not really having full-fledged like conversations with anybody in Portuguese. My entire household, me, my husband, and the dogs all speak in English to each other. Just how it works. His brain recognizes me as an English speaker and he just speaks English to me. And I interact sometimes with his family and friends, but honestly, it's not even that much because most of the time I'm working. Like, I work late at night, early in the morning. I'm working on Saturdays. Sometimes there's Celtas running on Sunday mornings. Like, I'm working all the time. So half the time I'm not even interacting in Portuguese. So for me, it doesn't really matter. I know. What a terrible English teacher. Like, Kelly, you are, a teacher for second languages and you should be more. I just don't care that much to be super hyper fluent and really proficient in Portuguese. If that makes me a bad person, it makes me a bad person. But and so when I talk to students, I totally identify with them. Some of them, they have to be uber professionals. And then we have to get into, C1, C2 level. We really got to work on their style, their delivery, their proficiency level. Like, we really have to dig into them. Other people just want to travel. Now you're asking me, Kelly, what does this matter about error correction? It matters a whole bunch because when we start looking at error correction, we can't overwhelm students with how much we're correcting them, so much so that we demotivate them during lessons and they get frustrated. And then it turns into this idea of, I'm never going to learn a language. We have to look at what is their current proficiency level and understand that even at a proficiency level, they're still going to make accuracy mistakes. It's just going to happen. There's teachers that make accuracy mistakes. Like, supposedly, as a native speaker, supposedly, I'm supposed to be the model of all English, which we all know is ridiculous. But okay, supposedly I'm supposed to be high level C2, graduated from university, studied in the US. This is my first language, so I should be the highest. I make mistakes. I make slips. Things come out. I'm like, how do I spell that? I don't remember this word. Is it that? And then I have to look things up. I look things up all the time. I learned a new word with my husband while we were watching a Netflix series. I was like, what is that? What did they just say? And then thank goodness Netflix put, the person said the word. And I think Netflix knew, like, no one's going to know that word. And they put the definition on the screen. Thanks, Netflix. So it was a documentary, crime one. So anyways, but yeah, so do you see what I'm saying? Like, not even, the people that we put as the highest models of language, we always make mistakes. But what my point is students need to have error correction done with some factors in mind. What's their current level? What's their objective? And what's probably the peak level of them speaking in English? And from there, you can start prioritizing, because what teachers do is they try to correct any and everything. And they overcorrect to the point where it's like, well, it's correct, grammatically correct, makes sense, and the person would totally understand that. And it might not be the most common collocation, but I'm going to correct it. Why? I've seen teachers overcorrect students so much so that they're changing registers because this is more formal and this is more appropriate. Absolutely not. Situational awareness, my friends. So when I say error correction done right, I mean, or error correction done by Kelly. I mean, we could change the title of the episode, but I want to always have that perspective for teachers that people at every level, A1 to C2, are going to make mistakes. Everyone. And what is the objective of what they're doing? Is it intelligible and you just need to give them a suggestion? So then probably immediate correction of them is just going to really kind of mess with the flow of the interaction. And what's their goal? Because I'm totally fine making mistakes of masculine and feminine. And when I make mistakes with verb conjugation, it's usually future. I don't even get into the fancy ones. It's like I kind of stay simple, you know? Like I'm in simple and continuous, and I don't do any of the other ones. But usually in the future, I will make a mistake. And most of the time, I know what it is, but I just can't say it. So it's like pronunciation problems with me. But I am totally okay with finding a way around it. Like I will say it wrong, and they'll be like, tomorrow. Amanhã. Got it? And they're like, okay, she just doesn't know how to say that word. And I'm okay with that. And I'm probably, maybe in another 10 years, I'll be able to say the word properly, but they know what I'm saying. So I'm okay with that. I think we have to think about the threshold of what your students are okay making mistakes with, as long as they're intelligible and they can kind of muddle their way through those situations. What the expectations are accuracy wise at each level. If they're using language that's new to them and they're still trying to figure it out, then sure, give them lots more correction so that they can use it properly. And then also, like, what's the goal of what you're doing in class? You know, so if you're doing an activity that's really focused on accuracy because it's new language or it's like nuanced language that they need to know for a specific situation, then yeah, give them lots of corrections, immediate corrections mixed with delayed corrections, sure. But interrupting people constantly, listing out everything that's wrong, listen, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure how effective that is, because I see lots of people just giving up and learning. And I think we have these unrealistic expectations. You might be an amazing language teacher and super passionate about languages, and you love it, and you love everything about methodology and language acquisition and applied linguistics, and it's amazing for you. That's great for you. That's not your student, though. So sometimes I think we have to give them corrections? Yep. I'm not saying take corrections away. I'm saying harness a bit of that enthusiasm for languages and give it to them where they need it to be at, not where you want everyone to be like perfectly producing. I'm okay with students making some mistakes. I always give them feedback. I always give them, immediate feedback. If it's affecting intelligibility, I give them some delayed feedback so they can have some improvements. Sometimes I don't give feedback on something. If I notice it's like a reoccurring error, then I'll just give a lesson on it the next class. Like I'm not even gonna, it's like, it's cool. I'm not going to address it because they just keep making this mistake. So it's something that clearly they're not able to produce independently. So let me just give them a lesson on it and see if we can fix that accuracy issue. I would just be very selective of what you're doing and how it's going to affect your student, with the idea of what is their goal, not yours, theirs. What do they have to be able to do? So, I've got a couple articles that I think might be important or interesting for people to read afterwards. So I'll link some articles in the show notes there. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to help anybody or not. I just have a little bit of a pet peeve of people just constantly, I don't know, hyper focused on all the errors. We have to get rid of all the errors. Let me tell you one quick little anecdote about this. So I was working at a school a while ago, and one of the parents came to the school and said, like, listen, my child, here's why. The kid's like 7, by the way. My child's not producing, and when they do produce, they didn't say it like this, but let me give it to you like teacher talk wise, right? My child's not producing, but when they are producing, I notice that they're making errors. And I was like, great, what are your expectations for your 7-year-old in their second language? Well, they're taking classes every week, and so they should be producing. I was like, okay, yep, they definitely should be producing. Are you expecting them to be producing full sentences or isolated words? What's your expectation here? And they're like, well, I mean, when I take English class, I was like, you're an adult. Your child is 7. Frontal lobe has got like another 15 years to be fully developed. What are you talking about? There's no comparison between children and adults. But okay. I was like, you're also an adult. You have a first language that is pretty much fully formed, more or less, in your brain. And also, you're functioning at full capacity being an adult. Your son is a child still. They're 7. Okay, what I want the teacher to like really correct them in like really, it's like, correct what exactly? So then I had the conversation with the parent. I said, listen, what is your child producing at 7 years old? At what complexity is your child producing Portuguese? I mean, are they producing fully formed, complex sentences, complete, like really thought out structures and things like that? Is that happening with your kid right now, 7 years old, in their first language? Well, no. Okay, so then let's think about how much correction the kid is going to need to have in a second language, right? Like, I think that the parent wanted, well, after my first classes, after my, and it's not the parents' fault. Parents are not educators. So it was good that they actually came to the school and be like, why is the child not making progress? Well, let's lower your expectations in terms of progress, right? So the child is going to be able to produce something similar in English to, and probably lesser in complexity in English to what they're producing in their first language. So what are they producing in their first language? Are they behind their peers? No? Okay, so then let's go back to what the expectations are of your child. And if something is incorrect, then the teacher is obviously going to correct it. However, kids at 6, 7, even 8 years old in English are going to be, fixed phrases, some very functional chunks, and identification. That's it. They can regurgitate the songs that they sing in class because it's a catchy little tune and they've been, repeating it on, but are they going to be able to take that song, analyze the lyrics, and summarize the song No. They can't do that in their first language, so why would they be able to do it in the second? So the parent had this idea that like the teacher needs to be more involved. I was like, you gotta figure it. Let me help you understand. Let me help you understand children and children's education. And the crazy thing about this is like, I'm not even the go-to person for young learner education. I'm not. I've always focused on adult learners, and that's kind of my niche of preference. Have I taught children? Yes. Have I learned a little bit about kids and that whole deal, that whole sector of education? Sure, I've dabbled. But yeah, so again, whether you're teaching the individual and, uh, deciding how you're going to give error correction. Or if you have parents that want you to be really kind of a hard on their kids, a disciplinarian, like, no, you need to do it right. We need to help people understand, it's like, what's the goal here, right? Because if kids start out with a toxic relationship with English, they're going to turn into those adults that never followed through with a course and are always struggling and hopping from school to school or private teacher to private teacher. So error correction, wrapping this up, error correction, it needs to be done right. And there's no right that is universal, I think. I think it's very much individual, but that is just my general take on all things education, is that everything is very individual and people react differently. But take into consideration what's their goal, not your goal. What's their level? What's their objective in terms of level, because not everybody wants to be C2 and English teachers. Like, that's not the goal of many students. So take that into consideration. And if parents request that you correct their children more so that they produce properly, like, let's look at the age, the maturity level, the literacy level of the student, the cognitive development level, like, where are they at in their, little educational journey. So that would be my tips on error correction. I'll add links so that you can check out some other articles that might be of interest. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye.